Chapter 6. It was a perfect day for walking. The paths were a rustling carpet of golden leaves, and the air hung heavy with the smell of dry brush and bonfires. Vanessa and Teo were walking in the direction of the meadows and talking. They spoke at length about Malcolm X's visit to Oxford, she being eager to hear the story of how a member of the West Africa Society had been instrumental in organizing his visit, and he wanting to know what most English people, not just those at the university, thought about someone like Malcolm X. She found his questions challenging and felt torn between reality and her own idealism. "I wish that England was less racist than America," she said, "but then, when you have politicians like Enoch Powell saying the things he does, it doesn't inspire hope." "It is discouraging," Teo acknowledged, "but people do change, especially the younger generations, and I have hope in the British." Vanessa raised her eyebrows, wondering if he was just being polite, but he seemed not to have noticed her skepticism. Instead, he had begun to talk about some of the encouraging interactions he had experienced with school children and church groups. "Besides," he added, "in Yoruba the meaning of my name is someone who brings joy, so I've no choice but to be optimistic." She smiled, thinking that the name suited him. As they continued their walk, Vanessa noticed that Teo had a habit of picking up twigs that he would play with for some minutes before sending them whirling away into the bushes. She liked the way he carried himself, so at ease in his body. It was obvious that he was clever and highly accomplished, and yet in his manner he was humble, never once flaunting his knowledge in the way that she had grown to dislike in men like Charlie and Mayhew. Teo also seemed to be more serious and less flirtatious than she remembered from the first meeting, which prompted her to share something that had been bothering her. Oxford was a small place, and she preferred that Teo should find out about her family from her. "I have a small confession for you, Teo." "A small confession?" She laughed, tapping him playfully on the shoulder when he stopped dead in his tracks. "One. Just wanted to say ... Well, do you remember when you asked me about my interest in Africa? I felt a bit embarrassed, in the light of the debates that evening, to admit that I actually do have connections to Africa." "But why so embarrassed?" he asked. "Because my father and grandfather were in the colonial service. They had stopped on a bridge and were leaning against a wooden railing, peering at their water flowing gently downstream. Two ducks paddled close to the river bank, leaving room for a punter to glide silently past. And there, as they stood side by side, she told him about her father's colonial tours in West Africa. She chose her words carefully, not wanting him to form a bad impression of her family. And, as a result, found herself saying more positive things than intended. It was not true that her father had been won over to the idea of African independence. Mention way, she thought, of making her feel further at ease. His father had been a one messenger in the 1950s and an interpreter in the native administration before becoming a policeman. According to Teo, his father had made many British friends, including some district officers, so he wondered whether their fathers might have met. "Perhaps," Vanessa replied, knowing this was doubtful. Her father did not fall into the category of colonial officers who were loved by locals. And now she regretted having misled Teo into thinking so. Hopefully, he would never have occasion to see the less attractive side of her father. At least she could count on her father to put on a good act. They walked in silence, in single file, for a few moments along the narrowing path. She wanted to ask him more about his family but didn't want to seem rude, so they talked, instead, about college and the people they knew. She had not realized how far they had come until she saw they were nearly at the Trout, a country pub a couple of miles out of the city where she had been several times before, but always by car, never on foot. Her feet hurt from her new boots and she was weary, but Theo didn't look tired at all, no doubt because of all the sports he played. "Do you play any?" he asked, when she commented on the fact. "No, not at all." "None?" "None," she confirmed. "Is that bad?" "Terrible. So come on, let's run. I'll chase you to the Trout." "Oh no, I can't run." "Yes, you can." He tugged at her arm. "Last one buys the drinks." "Then I'm buying." She laughed, watching him crouch like a sprinter, waiting for her to start. She was breathing heavily by the time they got to the pub, and could only nod when Theo offered to relieve her of her coat. He laughed, showing no sign of being short of breath. "My goodness, you are fit," she muttered, noting the shoulders. "I'm sorry, what did you say?" "You heard me, and I'm not repeating it." She laughed. "What can I get you, love?" the bartender asked, interrupting. She ordered a beer, and Theo a pineapple juice. They were looking around for a place to sit when two men passed in front of them and bumped into Theo, spilling the drinks. "Do you mind?" Vanessa said crossly when no one apologized. "Maybe the bloody wog ought to look where he's going." "Maybe you two bloody idiots should learn some manners." "Just leave them," Theo whispered, placing a hand gently on Vanessa's wrist. She started to protest, but he was restraining her, so she just stood, staring in shock. "It's fine," Theo insisted, quietly brushing pineapple juice and beer off his cardigan. "Here, let me fetch you another." He reached for the empty glasses. "No. But thank you." She looked nervously at the bar. "Could we go out?" "Side." "Okay. Come on." They stood up, and passed close to the bar where the men now sat, hand. Theo stopped and looked one of them straight in the eye. Alarmed, Vanessa tugged quickly at his sleeve, but he stood still, staring at the men until they were forced to look away. Outside, a smoky haze had fallen across the meadows, and squirrels darted across paths and up into trees. It was mid-afternoon, but the sun had already begun its descent and a cold wind was lifting pocketfuls of leaves and tossing them recklessly into the air. "Were you afraid?" Theo asked, softly. "No," she lied. "I felt like punching them." "Ouch, not such a gentle butterfly after all." "I tell you what," he said, smiling at her. "How about I give you a new name?" "A what?" "Why? Something to capture your fighting spirit. How about more Ameh?" "What's that?" "It means as tough as a nut. A little Miss Cassius Clay. Legend has it that more Ameh saved the Yoruba kingdom." "Well, I'm not sure that more Ameh. More Ameh. I'm not sure that's me. But Omoteo is certainly you." "Omoteo Oluwakeod," he added. "Oluwakeod is another of my joyful middle names." She looked up and found him smiling. "Do your names really mean what you say they do?" She started laughing. "Or is this how you like to charm the girls?" "Now why would I possibly wish to lie to you, Miss More Ameh? I'm sincere. Really sincere." "Okay." She laughed. "So what is Mr. Sincere doing over the Christmas holy?" "Nothing that can't be changed," he said. "In that case then, come to my grandparents' Christmas party.